In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation.
And people get caught up in the illusion of Hollywood. People really get caught up in this.
All right, buckle up because this story is about to get messy. We've entered the stormy seas of Hollywood scandal where careers are built on whispers and reputations are crushed with a single headline. Shannon Sharpe, the Hall of Fame athlete turned charismatic media powerhouse, is caught in a whirlwind of accusations, threats, and explosive revelations. But let's not pretend this is some simple scandal. No, this is a full-blown spectacle with layers upon layers of drama. At the center of it all, power plays, personal vendettas, and a chess game so intricate it's hard to tell who's making the next move or who's already been checkmated.
Alrighty, y'all. So the Shannon Sharpe ESPN, does he still keep his job conversation is beginning to, I was going to say beginning to happen, but it's been happening, but I think now it's beginning to get louder because of different things that Attorney Busby has released, including the audios. So right now the conversation is, why is Shannon Sharpe still able to be on ESPN?
Let's start with the audio. The clip that hit the internet like a Category 5 hurricane. In it, a voice, alleged to be Shannon Sharpe's, threatens a woman in the most shocking terms imaginable. If you say that word one more time, I'm going to choke the light out of you when I see you. And when she nervously responds, I don't want to be choked, the alleged male voice doubles down with, yes, you do. You don't have a choice in the matter. The outrage was instant, and the fallout was nuclear. Social media erupted, headlines blared, and suddenly, the man who made his name debating Stephen A. Smith on First Take was facing a very different kind of public scrutiny. But here's the catch. This isn't just a story about a damning audio clip. No, this is a saga of contradictions, blurred lines, and a tangled web of relationships. Shannon's legal team fired back with their own bombshell. Text messages allegedly sent by the accuser, which paint a very different picture of their dynamic. The messages, filled with provocative language and explicit requests, suggest a relationship rooted in role-playing and boundary pushing. One message even reads, I want you to put a collar on me and pull me around. In other states, you know you missed this. $25,000 for each cheek. Whether you believe the texts or the accusations, one thing is clear, this is not a one-sided narrative.
And that the sex was about handcuffs, choking, putting on dog collars. Do you get those at pet?
And then there's Tony Busby, the lawyer representing Shannon's accuser. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Busby has built a career out of high-profile cases that seem tailor-made for tabloid fodder. He's gone toe-to-toe with everyone from NFL players to music moguls, and his style is as controversial as the clients he represents. In this case, Busby has been relentless, describing Shannon as controlling, abusive, and manipulative. According to him, this isn't just about one incident. It's about a pattern of behavior that allegedly turned toxic long before the lawsuit hit the courts.
On Easter Sunday, a lawsuit was filed in state court in Nevada against Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe because he has become such a massive media star, especially in the past few years. The lawsuit is going to attract a lot of attention.
But wait, it gets even murkier. Busby alleges that Shannon's team is trying to gaslight the public, using the explicit text messages to discredit his client. He's called their defense strategy a classic case of victim blaming. And he claims the texts are being taken out of context to muddy the waters. And let's be real, in a case like this, context is everything. Were these messages part of a consensual relationship, or were they twisted into something darker? The truth, as they say, is somewhere in the shadows, and everyone involved seems determined to keep it there.
Shannon Sharpe says he's temporarily stepping away from ESPN in the wake of a $50 million lawsuit accusing him of rape. A woman filed suit against Sharpe on Sunday, accusing him of raping her twice in the last 6 months.
What makes this even more jaw-dropping is the timing. Shannon Sharpe wasn't just any media figure. He was riding a wave of success that seemed unstoppable. His podcast, Club Shay, was a cultural phenomenon. His debates on First Take were must-watch television. He had endorsement deals, a massive social media following, and a reputation as a straight shooter who wasn't afraid to call it like he saw it. And now, all of that is hanging by a thread. He stepped away from his ESPN role, and insiders are already speculating about whether this might be the end of his media career altogether.
Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is?
But let's zoom out for a second, because this story isn't just about Shannon Sharpe. It's about the Hollywood machine and the way it chews people up and spits them out. Enter Katt Williams, the outspoken comedian who's never been afraid to name names and spill tea. Katt has been on a rampage, claiming that this whole mess is part of a larger conspiracy to take Shannon down. According to Katt, Shannon's downfall is being orchestrated by none other than Kevin Hart, the comedy megastar who Katt has been beefing with for years. And let's be clear, this isn't just idle gossip. Katt came with receipts.
right? And now, a lot of times people just are who they are. And you're looking at Shannon, his brand has never really been anything that said he might not be into some of the things that we're learning, right? You could go back to the IG Live, or you could listen to some of the things that he promotes as sponsors of his show, or just certain ways he talks about women.
He's accused Kevin of working with industry executives to exploit Shannon's weaknesses, specifically his alleged preference for younger women. Katt even went as far as to suggest that the accuser was planted in Shannon's life as part of a calculated takedown. And if that wasn't wild enough, Katt has tied this back to his own history, with Kevin claiming that Kevin's entire career was built on selling out and playing the Hollywood game. According to Katt, anyone who doesn't play by the rules, anyone who doesn't conform is a target. It's a lot to unpack, but here's the kicker. Kevin Hart hasn't exactly stayed silent. He's fired back at Katt, calling his accusations sad and implying that Katt is simply bitter about his own career struggles. Kevin has positioned himself as the ultimate success story, a self-made star who overcame the odds to become one of the most bankable names in Hollywood. But Katt isn't buying it. He's painted Kevin as an industry puppet, someone who's willing to do whatever it takes to stay on top, even if it means throwing other black entertainers under the bus.
About the lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe. Now, this one has some very strong allegations. Assault, sexual battery, assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The components obviously give it greater gravity than a car accident or any case based on some sort of negligent slip and fall, something like that, where someone was just being...
And that brings us back to Shannon. Is he a victim of Hollywood politics, caught in the crossfire of a feud that has nothing to do with him? Or is he an architect of his own downfall, someone whose personal choices have finally caught up with him? The truth is, there are no easy answers here. What we're left with is a messy, complicated, and deeply human story. It's a story about power, ambition, and the lengths people will go to protect their empires. But most of all, it's a story that's far from over, because if there's one thing we know about Hollywood, it's that the real drama always happens behind the scenes.
But Tony Busby says this is key evidence in our case against Mr. Sharpe, so it will not be coming out. He will not be leaking this.
And saying basically it's going to come out during the trial.
Right.
If there's a trial.
If there's a trial, it will come out, which to me sounds like he's still dangling it over Shannon's head to say, we can meet, we can settle this, or we can go forward into a trial, and then the video is going to come out. Now,
and here's where things spiral even further into the abyss. Because while Shannon Sharpe is staring down the barrel of public outrage and legal warfare, the ripple effects of his downfall are dragging other names into the mud, and not quietly either. Kevin Hart may have brushed off Katt Williams' accusations as sad, but let's not pretend he's untouchable in this saga. The whispers are getting louder, and the dots people are connecting, whether they're real or not, are painting a picture that's impossible to ignore. Let's talk about Gabriella Zuniga, the woman whose accusations have thrown Shannon's life into chaos. What's easy to miss in all the noise is her alleged connection to a prominent Hollywood family. If the rumors are true, she's not just some random name. It's alleged she's related to Daphne Zuniga, an actress who's been tied to some powerful figures in the entertainment world. This isn't just a case of one person accusing another. This is a story with tendrils that extend deep into the underbelly of Hollywood politics. And if that's not enough to make your head spin, there's the theory, floated by none other than Katt Williams, that Gabriella wasn't just an accuser. She was a pawn, a carefully placed piece on a chessboard designed to take Shannon down.
Do you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is? What? Is to act like it didn't happen.
And who would be behind such a masterstroke of manipulation? Katt has made no effort to mince words. He's pointing the finger squarely at Kevin Hart. According to Katt, Kevin is a willing player in a system that rewards compliance and punishes dissent. And while Kevin might laugh this off, the narrative Katt is spinning is both damning and disturbingly plausible. Think about it. Kevin has spent years building an empire, and he's done it by staying in Hollywood's good graces. He's the guy who plays the game, who makes the deals, who toes the line. But if you believe Katt, all of that success comes at a cost. And part of that cost, according to Katt, is making sure that anyone who doesn't play by the same rules is left in the dust, or worse, publicly destroyed.
Yes, and another interesting thing too, and this is why I said, I've never seen anybody handle a situation worse than Shannon and his team after this came out. We would have never known about that so-called video if it wasn't for Shannon Sharpe.
Yes.
Shannon jumped out there and revealed that video existed. And he did that for no reason because they wasn't even planning on putting it up.
But here's the kicker. Kevin's not just being accused of benefiting from Shannon's downfall. Katt's suggesting he orchestrated it. And when you start to unpack the timeline, things get even messier. Shannon's public controversies didn't just come out of nowhere. They bubbled up after years of him being one of Hollywood's most outspoken figures. He's the guy who called out hypocrisy, who didn't shy away from saying the uncomfortable truths. And as Katt would have you believe, that made him a target for an industry that doesn't like when people step out of line, a target for people who stand to gain from his absence.
But when African Americans make it and they get to the top, they try to help other people, but they don't really take care of the people that really should.
And let's not forget the role of the media in all of this. Because while Shannon's team has been scrambling to control the narrative, the leaks keep coming. First, it was the audio clip. Then, it was the text messages. Now, there are whispers of a video that, if it exists, would make the scandal even harder for Shannon to escape. And while Shannon's attorney has called it a manipulative edit, the damage is already done. Whether or not the video ever sees the light of day, the mere suggestion of its existence has people choosing sides.
Essence from Atlanta, him refusing to look at the evidence just gives me the impression that he wants plausible deniability, and maybe the evidence should be released so that way he does not deny his actions. I mean, if that was me, I would definitely want to look at the evidence to see what I did and did not do so I can maintain my innocence.
But here's where it gets even darker. While Shannon's accusers are coming forward with chilling allegations, his defenders are pointing to their own receipts. They're claiming the timing of these accusations is suspicious, that this isn't about justice, it's about power. Shannon's team has alleged that Gabriella Zuniga was motivated by money, and they've gone as far as to release explicit text messages they say prove the relationship was consensual. But here's the thing. Even if those texts are real, they don't erase the allegations. They don't undo the harm that's already been done to Shannon's reputation. And they certainly don't answer the bigger question. Why now? Why is this all coming to light at this exact moment?
Once again, I've never seen anybody handle a situation worse than Shannon and his team. Like this is, they just handled it wrong from the beginning, from the whole beginning.
Yeah, well.
And while Shannon is fighting for his career, Kevin Hart seems to be doubling down on his own narrative. He's leaning into his role as Hollywood's golden boy, the guy who can do no wrong. But even Kevin isn't immune to scrutiny. People are revisiting his history, pulling up old interviews, questioning whether his clean-cut image is as genuine as he wants us to believe. There's a clip making the rounds on social media right now of Kevin at one of Diddy's infamous parties. It's an old video, but in the context of everything happening now, it feels like a smoking gun. In a clip, Kevin is laughing as chaos unfolds around him, and Diddy's remarks in the background are raising eyebrows. It's not evidence of anything concrete, but it's enough to make people wonder, how deep does Kevin's involvement in Hollywood's darker side really go?
Right. And then for the young lady, if these are things that has happened to her, you hope that she's able to process that and in some way feel like she has been not only compensated, but that she has sought and found the justice that she's looking for. But it's like you said, period. It's just a bad look.
And then there's Katt Williams, the self-proclaimed truth teller in this mess. He's not just throwing accusations at Kevin, he's dragging Hollywood as a whole. Katt has always been vocal about the price of fame, about the compromises people make to stay at the top. And he's made it clear that he sees Kevin as the poster child for those compromises. But here's the thing about Katt. For all his outspokenness, he's not exactly a neutral party. He's got his own history with Kevin, his own grudges and grievances. So while his accusations are explosive, they're also deeply personal. And that makes it hard to separate fact from fiction, truth from vendetta.
It's a claim against someone alleging that some rights were violated. And in most cases, what's sought is compensation in the form of damages to make up for whatever it is the person did. And there are all sorts of civil lawsuits, car accidents, defamation. We hear about that a lot because people get sued about things that are said about them in media.
But let's not forget what makes Katt's claim so compelling. His history of being blackballed by the very industry he's now accusing. Remember, this is a man who walked away from multi-million-dollar deals because he refused to play by Hollywood's rules. He's spoken openly about scripts being rewritten when he refused to conform, about roles being handed to others because he dared to challenge the narrative. And it's not just talk, there's a track record. Katt's career, while undeniably successful, has been marked by moments where he seemed to vanish from the spotlight, only to resurface with fresh claims about the system working against him. Whether you see him as a whistleblower or a bitter outsider, one thing's for sure, Katt doesn't pull punches, and he doesn't back down. And then there's the issue of the timing. Why now? Why is Katt turning up the heat just as Shannon's career is imploding? Some say it's opportunistic, a way for Katt to reclaim relevance by hitching himself to a bigger story. But others argue it's strategic, that Katt has been waiting for the right moment to expose what he sees as systemic rot in Hollywood. And if that's the case, it's a risky move, because while Katt's outspokenness wins him fans, it also makes him a target. The more he talks, the more people will dig into his past, looking for reasons to discredit him. And in Hollywood, where secrets are currency, that's a dangerous game to play.
Attorney offered that up publicly.
To me, her turning it down shows that it's not a money grab.
No, it shows that it's a bigger shake.
Meanwhile, as Katt continues to fan the flames, Kevin Hart seems to be leaning into his role as the unbothered mogul. He's still posting about upcoming projects, still presenting himself as the guy who's too busy winning to care about the drama. But behind the scenes, there are whispers that Kevin's team is working overtime to control the narrative. From scrubbing old videos that could be taken out of context to quietly distancing him from certain Hollywood circles, it's clear that Kevin knows the stakes. Because whether or not Katt's accusations stick, the mere act of being tied to this mess could tarnish Kevin's carefully curated image. And for someone like Kevin, whose brand is built on relatability and likability, that's a risk he can't afford to take.
According to reports, that video will not be released. Attorney Tony Busby came out and said that they are not planning to release that video how they were dropping audio because it's a very strong point of their evidence in this case, and they're going to keep it and use it as such.
Court.
Yeah. Now, that is interesting because Shannon Sharpe, remember, he kept saying he believes the video was going to come out. He believes the video was going to come out. So there's been a change there somehow.
But let's not lose sight of the real stakes here. This isn't just about Shannon or Kevin or Katt. This is about the way power operates in Hollywood. It's about the invisible forces that shape careers, that decide who gets to stay and who gets to stay and who gets pushed out. It's about the lengths people will go to protect their empires and the collateral damage that gets left in their wake. And as this story continues to unfold, one thing is clear. The truth, whatever it is going to leave a lot of people exposed. So where does this all end? Does Shannon find redemption, or does this scandal mark the end of his career? Does Kevin manage to stay above the fray, or does Katt's campaign against him start to gain traction? And what about Gabriella Zuniga? What's her next move in this high-stakes game? The answers aren't clear, but one thing's for sure. The drama is far from over. Let us know what you think down below, and we'll see you in the next one.